Welcome back to the YouTube channel, where history, mystery, and rare coins collide to reveal some of the most jaw-dropping stories ever told. Today, we are diving deep into a coin that many people pass by without a second thought, the 2020 P. Marsh-Billings Rockefeller $2. But what if I told you that one of these seemingly ordinary coins ended up being worth an unbelievable $433 million? That's right. This isn't just a quarter. It's a chapter in American legacy, a spark of collector obsession, and a wild journey that defies all odds. So, sit back, relax, and get ready to hear the unbelievable but true story of how this coin went from pocket change to becoming one of the most valuable pieces in numismatic history. The story begins in the unlikeliest of places, a dusty attic in rural Vermont. It was the fall of 2021, just months after the U.S. Mint released the Marsh-Billings Rockefeller $2 as part of the America the Beautiful series. Designed to honor the birthplace of conservation in America, the coin quickly made its way into circulation. But hidden among the millions minted was one coin, just one, that would change everything. That attic in Vermont belonged to a man named George Whitley, a retired forest ranger with a love for history and an eye for the unusual. While sorting through an old collection of coins left to him by his grandfather, George found a pristine, gleaming $2 that looked just a little too perfect. At first glance, it didn't seem too different from the others. But George noticed something strange. The luster of the coin was unlike anything he'd seen, with a silvery sheen that shimmered almost unnaturally. The details were sharper, crisper, and more defined than even uncirculated mint sets. Curious, he took a closer look through his loupe, only to discover that something was off with the mint mark. Though it bore the standard P for Philadelphia, it was stylized differently, almost hand-engraved rather than machine-stamped. Intrigued but skeptical, George set the coin aside. Days turned into weeks, and that $2 kept calling back to him. Eventually, he reached out to a local coin dealer who, upon inspection, was stunned. They had never seen anything like it. The dealer recommended sending it off to the professional coin grading service. When PCGS received the coin, the buzz began almost immediately. A team of specialists examined the $2 under high-powered microscopes and X-ray fluorescence scanners. What they found shocked even the most experienced numismatists. The coin wasn't just a perfect strike. It had been minted on a planchet made of a mysterious hybrid alloy, never before seen in U.S. coinage, combining elements of platinum, palladium, and silver. The implications were enormous. This wasn't a mistake or a standard issue coin. This was a prototype. A test strike. A ghost coin. Something that wasn't supposed to exist outside the deepest archives of the U.S. Mint. Further analysis revealed microscopic engravings invisible to the naked eye, tiny initials and numbers believed to correspond with secret internal mint test programs. Only a few individuals within the mint would have access to such classified operations. Word of the coin's existence spread like wildfire. Forums, Reddit threads, and numismatic circles exploded with speculation. Who made the coin? Why? How did it end up in circulation? Offers began pouring in. Private collectors, hedge fund managers, and even foreign dignitaries placed bids to acquire the coin. What started at a modest 5-figure offer quickly skyrocketed. Within weeks, a bidding war pushed the price over $10 million. But George wasn't ready to sell. He wanted answers. And so began a whirlwind journey into the murky world of coin production, U.S. Mint secrets, and a mystery that stretched back decades. As George delved deeper, he uncovered documents leaked from a 1998 internal mint meeting discussing experimental coinage for the 21st century. These documents described rare metals, secure engravings, and anti-counterfeit technologies meant to future-proof U.S. currency. While none of the designs were ever meant to be circulated, insiders believe one prototype, the Marsh-Billings Rockefeller $2 with a platinum-palladium-silver blend, was accidentally released during the chaos of the COVID-19 pandemic when the mint operated under reduced staff and heavy demand, with government attention now drawn to the case, George found himself in the middle of a legal and ethical tug-of-war. The US Mint wanted the coin back, calling it sensitive material. But legal experts argued that since the coin had entered circulation, it was legally owned by whoever possessed it. The situation made national headlines. News stations camped outside George's Vermont home. Documentaries and podcasts sprang up overnight. This wasn't just a coin anymore. It was a national obsession. Despite the growing media circus, George Whitley remained grounded. He wasn't interested in fame or fortune, at least, not at first. All he wanted was to understand how this unique coin, this anomaly of metal and minting mastery, ended up in his attic. But as the offers grew bigger, and the calls from lawyers, collectors, and even government representatives became more persistent, George realized he was now the custodian of something far greater than he'd imagined. The attention brought its share of pressure. George's quiet Vermont town quickly became a pilgrimage site for numismatists and treasure hunters. Cars lined up outside his house, drones buzzed overhead, and one daring collector even tried to dig through his trash, hoping to find another rare gem. Police had to issue no trespassing orders. The Whitley family, now surrounded by chaos, found their home turning into a fortress. George's wife, Martha, was supportive but weary, worried about their safety. Still, George pressed on, determined to find the full truth behind the coin. That truth began to unravel when a former Mint employee, known only by the pseudonym Franklin, contacted George through an encrypted email. Franklin claimed to have insider knowledge about the experimental run of the 2020 P. Marsh-Billings Rockefeller quarter. According to Franklin, the Mint had secretly tested a batch of high-security coins embedded with traceable isotopes and microscopic identifiers. The idea was to develop a coin that could resist counterfeiting even in a world of advanced 3D printing and chemical forgeries. The test coins were struck in limited numbers, no more than 10, and were supposed to be destroyed after the tests were completed. However, Franklin suspected that at least one coin went missing during a chaotic inventory miscount in early 2020, right as the pandemic forced shutdowns across the nation. Franklin sent George a series of redacted documents, heavily blurred and marked with internal Mint codes, all pointing to the existence of Project Sentinel, an initiative tied to the rare alloy coinage. George was stunned. He had uncovered not just a rare coin, but a piece of secret American currency history hidden in plain sight. As word of Franklin's information leaked into the public domain, conspiracy theories surged. Some believed the coin was created as part of a covert government tracking initiative. Others thought it was minted by rogue agents inside the Mint, intending to plant it into circulation as a test of market response. But the most believable theory, and the one most numismatists accepted, was that it had simply been lost by accident. Still, no one could explain how it survived intact and ended up in a dusty Vermont attic. By now, George was receiving calls from elite auction houses. One in London offered to fly him first class, put him up in a 5-star suite, and display the coin under bulletproof glass in a live televised auction. But George wasn't ready to part with it. He wanted to know every detail before he considered a sale. That's when he got a call from a shadowy group calling themselves the Vault. This private collective of ultra-wealthy coin collectors had connections in every major mint around the world. They offered George not just money, but access to files, to experts, to secret archives hidden from the public. George agreed to meet a representative in Zurich. What followed was something out of a spy novel. A private jet, a blindfolded car ride through mountain roads, and eventually, a meeting in a sleek glass building with floor-to-ceiling vaults of the rarest coins in history. There, George was shown photographs and scans of other experimental coins. A 1974 aluminum penny. A 1933 double eagle. A rumored 1999 Susan B. Anthony dollar made of titanium. But none of them matched the sheer mystery of the 2020 P hybrid quarter. The Vault's lead archivist confirmed Franklin's theory. Project Sentinel was real. The alloy was developed in collaboration with a private aerospace contractor who had worked on stealth aircraft. The microscopic identifiers embedded in the coin were similar to those used in satellite components. It was a coin made not just to last, but to defy tampering and destruction. George asked the obvious question: why would such an advanced coin even be created in the first place? The answer stunned him. It was meant to be the first in a series of next-gen currency for a potential national security contingency. If paper money became unviable, the government needed an indestructible currency with traceability built in. These coins were never meant for the public. Returning to the US with this knowledge, George now had a decision to make. He had the coin authenticated, tested, and confirmed to be the only known surviving example of Project Sentinel. Auction houses updated their estimates. What started as a $10 million offer rose to $50 million, then $100 million.